should be live. Welcome back, nerds and turds, to another live stream repair. We've got one, maybe two showing up here in a few minutes to get fixed up. Oh, and one other thing. If you were curious, after last night's live stream, we didn't do any mail-in repairs, but we just broke down a couple of HomePods that we had bought for ourselves for spare parts. And this one was sold to us described as being stuck on OS 14.6, unable to update, and having some sort of log jam where the seller described that it would just suck up a bunch of bandwidth and never update. So we were able to set it up fine last night here and allow it to configure overnight. And when I woke up this morning, lo and behold, I'll show you guys. Not that it really matters much, but here's our test HomePod, and it's now on 16.4, so pretty cool. In total, to go from OS 14.6 to the current 16.4 release, it took 32 gigabytes of data usage. We saw it going around, I think it was like 1 to 200 megabytes a second last night, downloading those updates. So I'm going to go ahead and take a guess that the previous owner and seller of this may not have had the best Wi-Fi, or perhaps patience, but in any case, we were able to this updated without an issue overnight. What's the weather?
It's currently raining and 53 degrees. Expect cloudy skies starting tonight. Today's high will be 56 and the low will be 42 degrees.
And well, sure enough, if we look at our, where's my cameras? Where's my cameras? Transform. Oh, there they are. So it's clearly raining. She's connected to the internet. She's talking about the right stuff. So we got a little lucky on this one. No issues updating. We're going to go ahead and put that one away now. And let's break out some repairs. What's in store today? So we've got Chris from Illinois. Let's see what's going on with their pod. Hey Nick, can you maybe find a solution for iPod Hi-Fi power supplies? Ooh, mine isn't working and I'm not smart enough to DIY one. So I can definitely do that. I've been needing to make a video on my mods for the Apple Hi-Fi, and I'll definitely cover that. It should be pretty simple. It should be a matter of just probing the various DC voltages of the power supply's output with a multimeter, and then maybe cobbling together a handful, or maybe finding a single power supply that outputs multiple voltages that match up, and then you can pop that in there and it should be good to go. 369 volts, but it runs 5 point. See, I don't know if the whole thing runs on, I think it was like 5 volts or something like that, or if only part of it does. It's been a while since I've been inside one of those, but I'd love to, and you've given me a good excuse to dive back into those and make a video. Okay, so, oh, very nice. We've got a return label already in here. That makes this nice and easy. Let's pull up their email and find out what we're dealing with here. No power. All right. Let's let them know it's here and we're working on it now. Okay, Chris has been notified. Let's get their name up on the screen as well. There we go. Let's fix our progress. OBS task list overlay. Open in terminal. This runs in Node, so we'll run that. Oh, you already know the voltages. 17 volt, 6 volt, and 3.5 volt. Okay. Yeah, and then I think the other question is, do you also want to retain the ability to use the C cells? Or, even better, maybe we could see how many 18650 cells we can fit in place of that C or that D cell cavity, and then add like a USB-C port to it or something and give it like USB-C charging and way better battery life. Make like a seriously cool portable boombox. I've taken mine with some big D cell batteries to the beach, and with a few sets of D cell batteries, I think I get a few hours out of it before they die, which, all things considered, with the volume and age, is pretty impressive, in my opinion. So here's our pod. Nothing rattling around, so let's go ahead and kick things off by checking our symptoms with a known good power cable. We've never seen the power cable at fault, but you never know. And no signs of life there, but 4 watts of power draw from the kilowatt meter there. So this looks like a pretty typical no power dead diode issue. I've got more info on this issue in particular on my website under the common issues section, specifically the no power category. You're going to look for the dead diode section, and I can almost certainly say that's the problem without even opening it up yet, because of the power draw from the wall on our kilowatt there. So 0 watts of power draw is almost always going to be a blown fuse, usually on the power supply inside. That's because obviously blown fuse, no power can flow through, it doesn't complete a circuit, does not draw any power. And then you've got 1 to 2 watts of power draw from the wall, which is pretty uncommon, but that would be usually a shorted cap somewhere on the logic board up here. Have not seen that one very often, but often enough that we've got a few examples again up on our website under the common issues no power section. You tried to fix it with a PC PSU and it didn't work. I wonder if the power supply has something that tells the rest of the unit to turn on. Or maybe, I don't know what took out your power supply, but maybe whatever took out your power supply also took out the rest of the HomePod. So even with another hi-fi power supply, it may not still be working. I don't know if you know that the parts work or not. I put rubbing alcohol around the inside where we pry so that it works, or it makes the adhesive a little weaker, and this will pry up a lot easier. That was a tip from one of our previous viewers. I believe their name was Anthony. And look at that, just comes up like nothing. Much easier. Fewer bent screws. Fewer scratched stuff. Just an easier time. Woofer looks to be in great condition. No concerns there. And this guy's out. So, like I was saying earlier, when we are dripping that alcohol in there, we're getting it right in here, which will weaken the adhesive that's holding this basket down. So when we go to pry it off, it keeps our screws and our subwoofer in much better condition because we don't have to pry up with as much force. In some cases, you can just pry it, you just pull it off with your hand even. And then while it's still wet, it also makes it a lot easier to pull off any stringy bits that would interfere with everything sitting nice and flush again. So you can go ahead and do that while it's still wet and workable. Hello, welcome to the stream. Last screw. There we go. We are in. So with the power draw that we saw, 4 watts, and a date code on our diode here of 1748K, let's just laser right in onto that part and check it. Bullets. I need to replace that one. I cleaned the wheel on this thing and it gets dirty again, even if I don't rotate it within like 2 days. Yep, so our diode here is deader than my multimeter here. Doesn't help that the battery's dead. Let's get this diode replaced with a brand new one. It's not like this diode is under spec or anything like that. These just simply appear to be a bad batch because we've only got this date code in 1746K failing, and then we've got earlier date codes and newer date codes all the same, continuing to chug along just fine. But around about, give or take, I don't know, however many, let's just roughly estimate 800 to 1,000 repairs by now. We've replaced this same diode in every single one of them, and let's say 2/3 of them were no power. 9 out of 10 out of all of those no power ones were this diode, if not more. Yet every single one of those where it was this diode that failed, it's those date codes. Got a little goof there, bumped that cap, so here's what we do. We're going to keep the heat gun over there, flow some flux on, and look at that. It just jumps right back into place for us. Easy as that. So, let's grab that guy, chuck that into our dead pile, grab a brand new one that's not going to fail on us again here. Well, ultimately everything's going to stop working at some point, but this is going to far outlast many of the other parts in the HomePod. So, put some fresh solder on there, and we'll pop it on and see if this amp turns on and if it's got any other issues waiting to creep up. Maybe we got a little bit of DC offset. Maybe we just lost our bass out of nowhere. Who knows? That's why we check. There we go. Let's give that a sec to cool off. I'm gonna go grab a beverage. You guys go ahead and do the same. We'll be right back. Out of sight. Out of sight, out of child's mind. That's how baby minds work. That's how little baby brains work. They don't have object permanence. Kind of crazy. Cheers, folks. So, whoa, what's we got? You almost made me shit myself. What's up?
Nothing. She pooped herself.
Oh no.
The usual. She's giggling and warping around, so.
Giggling and warbling around.
The usual.
Causing a big stink.
Literally. That's okay. We're eating mushrooms on Naruto. Not breaking.
Do they like trip?
I don't know. They're going crazy over them.
They're like literally?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're tripping.
Maybe.
That
You'll have to ask them.
this is a kids show.
Is it?
Is it?
Is it for kids or teenagers?
Is it a kids show for adults or an adult show for kids?
Why would you ask something so
Booga, 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 booga.
Yeah.
We got power. Oh yeah, you like my bottle opener?
What in the world?
Yeah, the little slots in here fit the caps
Yeah.
perfectly. So you just pop in the magnet, keeps them there. Hey, we got bass. Bass, 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 bass. And it looks like we've only got 4 millivolts of offset. So, and no significant popping. This one's looking great. Let's get it put back together. Oh, I think our second repair just pulled in. They're dropping off a HomePod. They live local, so figured we let them save a little bit on shipping and just drop it off here. Tell you what, you might even be able to watch us. There we go. I'll go retrieve the pod. I'll be right back. Not right now. I gotta fix this shit. Alright. We've got our other HomePod repair here. So, let's get this put back together and then we'll knock that one out. See how much time we can take getting that done, and we'll see if we have got an easy day for us. Right, we're just gonna put this one back together. Easy peasy. Listen, I'm gonna... almost forgot that power supply. Let's pop that in. Grab that gasket and line it up. Lining it up right isn't critical, but there is a little bit of a notch on the outside of it here that you are supposed to line up with your ribbon cable. Again, it's not super critical, but if you want the perfect score, go ahead and line that up right. Make sure this is all sealed up. Sounds great. And we don't need to worry about gluing this down or anything. All of this is already fully sealed. So gluing this back on or not has no bearing on the seal whatsoever. I'm guessing they glue them on perhaps to keep them from maybe rattling apart. Honestly, it's just over-engineered. Just straight up, that's what it seems to be. But the reason over-engineered being, maybe they didn't want it rattling over time. But that's assuming they thought these were going to last more than a year or two, which, looking at some of the other design choices of this, would be giving them way too much credit. Rather, I think they just glued them to try to make them harder to get into. Because again, we look at the second gen HomePod, no glue in sight, and fewer screws. Still gaskets holding things together. So we opt to not glue this top back down. Not because we're lazy or trying to save money or anything like that, but rather we want to make it easier for anybody in the future to open this up again, because this alone is one of the two single biggest barriers stopping people from getting inside of their own HomePods. The other biggest barrier being getting this part off. So, and those are the two things that Apple happened to make significantly easier on the second gen. And then they turned around and made the drawstrings too short, so as soon as you open them up, the strings fall through and you can't tighten the mesh back up just like that. You gotta stuff it back in there, and not to mention most people, myself included, don't like the sound of the second gen as much as the first gen, so I won't be clamoring to replace any of my first gens with second gens ever. And I don't particularly care to have any of the newer features that in hardware support that the other HomePods have, because well, for one, I've got a few minis around the house that give me the temperature and humidity, and two, I don't really use them for anything other than listening to music too anyways, so good for me. It's like they were so close to making this bulletproof and indestructible without, necessarily needing to worry about taking it apart. They already have the debug port on the bottom, but between the faulty diodes that are taking them out and causing no power, or blinking volume buttons issues that break the software on them, it's just like... And they just spent so much money and time making this thing, and made so little per unit in profits. Such a the only good thing about it is how it sounds, and that's the greatest thing about it, and that's why we love them. Oh, well, that, and also this. If we go to our home, that's worth it. That alone is worth it. Oh yeah, and that's the whole house too, so the wife and kid got a good dose of that. Well, we are just about done with this one. Just a few more screws. Alright, that one wanted to be a bit of a pain there, but we got it. Got that all wrapped up. You don't need to do this perfectly. I mean, it's drawstring just holding the mesh together. You can just stuff that in there if you don't care about making it look pretty. You're never going to see it, but it's not ours. We want to make it look pretty. If somebody else comes in here and opens this up again, we don't want to give them a nasty mess. We want some sort of presentation. Okay. So, what's it got? Hey.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Sounds good.
I'm having trouble.
Looks good. Ready to go. That brings us to number 2. That just showed up a few minutes ago. This one also has no power. And this comes from John, so let's get their name up on the screen and get started. First things first, check our symptoms with a known good power cable. Make sure that's not the problem. Knock it off. Alright, so no response. Same thing as the last HomePod, about 4 to 6 watts of power draw from the wall. So again, looks like a pretty common diode failure on the amplifier that most of these have been experiencing. Let's get it apart and find out. Thank you, Chris. My pleasure. And thanks for watching. Here we go. Top is off. Let's get this display out. dusty on our ribbon cable there. It seems to have been a minute since this one's been last turned on, perhaps. Alright, let's get that ribbon cable loose. And work on this basket. Hey, Jonathan. All right. Time for the pry. How's our woofer looking? Pretty good. No worries there. Always like to check those woofers when we've got them already apart. I have taken apart ones with no power before with bass drivers that were still working but half roasted, so their performance was quite lacking. So we always like to check that, even if people don't really notice any problems with their bass before the power stops working on it. Just check. Give it a good sniff. There we go. Woo! 14 screws out. And with that, we are in. On to the repair step. Do we have the same diode? Looks like we've got 1746K for a date code on there, within the realm of the ones that normally fail. There you have it. Another dead diode. Let's give it a new one and see if it turns on. Here's a brand new diode, not susceptible to the same issues that failed our previous one. There we go. Give this a sec to cool off and we'll see if it turns on, if it's got any other issues. There you go. Excellent. So, another one with no issues powering up, no issues with the base, and again about 3 to 4 millivolts of offset there. So we are good to put this one back together and see if it's ready to roll.
You can still do it.
Oh, I'm sure I can. But I won't. Thank you, though, Apple Fitness. Thanks for trying. Drum roll, please. And we've got power. We'll give it a sec to boot up and just verify everything's put together well and it sounds all right.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Aren't we all?
I'm having trouble.
Very nice. Everything checks out. So we've got this one fixed up and everything else that we got today fixed up and taken care of. That's all that I have for you today, folks. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below or check out the website, nixfix.com, where I've got a dedicated section for the common issues that we repair here on the channel and how you can do it yourself, or my contact info. So if you want, you can reach out to me and get the process started to get it fixed here on the channel like these ones here today. Hope you all enjoyed this